She died with the secret only the abandoned son knows. Written by Eberichukwu, Folktale Therapy. As the sun set over the small town, the Okoro's household was filled with an unbearable sorrow. Mary, the loving mother and wife, had lost her battle with breast cancer, leaving behind her devastated family. Her husband, John, was consumed by grief, but he had to find a way to care for their two young children, Emily and her older stepbrother, Michael. Michael, 12 years old, had been brought into the marriage by Mary. He had grown close to John, who had accepted him as his own. However, John's biological daughter, Emily, was only 5 years old, and her mother's passing had left her feeling lost and scared. As the days went by, John's behavior towards Michael began to change. He started to notice how intelligent and curious Michael was, often helping Emily with her homework and solving complex problems with ease. John couldn't help but compare Michael's abilities to Emily's, who was still learning the basics. One day, John sat Michael down and told him that he couldn't stay with them anymore. Michael was shocked and asked why. John explained that he thought it would be best for Emily, as she needed to grow up without the distraction of her stepbrother's intelligence overshadowing hers. Michael was heartbroken and felt like he was being punished for being smart. Michael remembered the countless times he had helped Emily with her homework, the way he had read her stories and played games with her. He had always tried to be a good big brother, and now it seemed like that wasn't enough. As he packed his bags, he felt like a part of him was being torn away. John drove Michael to a nearby foster home, where he would have to live from now on. As they said the goodbyes, Michael couldn't help but wonder if he would ever see Emily again. John handed him a small bag with some clothes and a few belongings, his eyes avoiding Michael's. The foster home was a small, crowded place with several other children. Michael felt like an outsider, struggling to adjust to his new surroundings. He missed Emily's giggles and the way she would cling to him when she was scared. He missed Mary's warm hugs and the way she would listen to him when he needed someone to talk to. As the days turned into weeks, Michael became withdrawn. He stopped participating in class and lost interest in the activities he once enjoyed. His grades began to slip, and he struggled to find his place in the foster home. Meanwhile, Emily was struggling to cope with the loss of her mother and the absence of her beloved stepbrother. She would ask John about Michael, but he would brush it off, telling her that Michael was in a new home where he would be happy. As the months went by, Emily grew more curious about Michael's whereabouts. She would sneak onto the computer when John wasn't looking, trying to find Michael's contact information. One day, she managed to send him a message, and they began to exchange emails. Michael was overjoyed to hear from Emily, and they started to reconnect. They would talk about the days, share stories, and reminisce about the times they spent together. Michael told Emily about the foster home, and how hard it was to adjust. Emily shared her own struggles, feeling lost without her mother and missing her big brother. As their communication grew stronger, Michael began to realize that John's decision to send him away had more to do with his own insecurities than anything else. John had always been proud of Emily, but he seemed to feel threatened by Michael's intelligence and capabilities. With Emily's encouragement, Michael started to focus on his studies again. He worked hard, determined to make a better life for himself. He knew that he had a long way to go, but with Emily by his side, he felt like he could overcome anything. As the years passed, Michael and Emily remained close, despite the distance between them. They would talk on the phone, share stories, and support each other through the ups and downs of life. Michael became a brilliant young man, earning top grades and pursuing his passion for science and technology. John, on the other hand, realized too late that he had made a grave mistake. He had underestimated Michael's kindness and intelligence, and he had lost the opportunity to see him grow into a remarkable young man. Emily would visit Michael during school breaks, and they would spend hours talking about their lives, their dreams, and their future. Years later, they missed contact. Michael traveled to UK with scholarship to study medicine. He studied medicine, came back as the best graduating Nigerian doctor. Immediately he came back, he contacted the sister Emily. One day, he received an invitation to give a keynote speech as the best graduated medical doctor among his sets at a prestigious conference. He invited the sister Emily. He was nervous but excited, knowing that this was a chance to make a difference. As he took the stage, he glanced out at the crowd and saw Emily in the front row, beaming with pride. After the speech, Emily rushed to hug him, tears of joy streaming down her face. "I'm so proud of you, Michael," she said, her voice trembling. Mom would be proud too. At that moment, Michael remembered his little secret about him and Emily. "Emily, my little sister, I will tell you about us, something you never knew. I've been waiting for the right time. I think it is time. Dad will be surprised, he didn't know either. Mom said I shouldn't tell him until we grew up. Mom actually wanted me to grow under the tutelage of Dad, but the reverse was the case. Dad is not a good man. He asked me out of the house because he felt I was not his blood. He never knew I was his true blood and flesh." The story begins. He raped Mom when she was a housemaid at age 15. Mom carried and nursed the child, gave birth to him, and the person is Michael. Silence erodes. Emily started shedding tears. "Stop, Emily. If you want me to complete the story." Emily continues sobbing for 30 minutes. Michael hugged her, consoled her and said, "I will complete the story before Dad, but not today again." The day Nigeria government wanted to give Michael award, they demanded for the present of the parents. Michael had no choice than to call the dad, who had no information about his success story. Phone rang severally. John picked his call. "Good morning, Father. I'm the boy you asked to leave your house years ago. Please, the Nigeria government will like to see you at Abuja for awards ceremony on 5th of January 2023. make sure you come with Emily, my cherished sister." Phone dropped from John's hand. John was astonished and perplexed for days, waited for Emily to come back from nursing school. On 5th of January, the hall was full with prestigious people, government officials and students from diaspora. John was still in shock as they called Michael out as the best graduating medical doctor among his set with award of 10 million naira. John stood confused and surprised. Emily ran to his brother and kissed him at the forehead. "I'm proud of you, bro. You are born great. I'm proud to be identified with you as my only brother." Tears started rolling down from Michael's eyes as he started the story of his life. "My father abandoned me when I was 12. He didn't ask of my well-being. I grew up in the street, teaching children mathematics and sciences. I wrote scholarship exams severely. I went through my secondary education and higher institutions with scholarships. Thank God I stood before him testifying as the only biological son he ever had." John stood with amazement, wanted to ask questions. Michael continued, "Yes, you impregnated my mother when he was 15 years old as a housemaid. Years later, you came asking for her hand in marriage. Unknowingly to you that she was the girl you impregnated and abandoned years ago. She agreed to marry you because she wanted me to grow under my father's guide. Though all her efforts was in vain because you deserted me when immediately she died. Sincerely, I doubt if my mother's spirit will ever forgive you. You offended her twice. You deflowered her and abandoned his only son. God will judge you, Dad." John fainted. Emily and Michael hugged themselves in tears. People came consoling them and trying to resuscitate John. This life is a lesson. Live it with utmost carefulness because the future is pregnant.